Our story begins at the end of a 10-year nightmare, the Trojan War. The Greek hero Odysseus, king of Ithaca, has finally shattered the impossible siege of Troy with the most cunning invention in all of history, the Trojan horse. For 10 long years, he was trapped outside those walls. Now at last, Troy has fallen. Odysseus stands on the blood-soaked beach, triumphant and utterly bone-deep exhausted. But victory goes straight to his head. Drunk on his own brilliance, Odysseus throws back his head and screams to the heavens that he, and he alone, conquered Troy. No gods, no help, just him. Big mistake. Poseidon, my god of the sea, does not suffer mortal arrogance. From the crashing waves, a face the size of a mountain rises, and he swears a terrible curse. Odysseus will never, never see the shores of Ithaca again. A journey home that should have taken a few short weeks is about to become 10 agonizing years. The sea itself is now his enemy. Their first true terror is the island of the Cyclops. Odysseus and his men wander into a vast cave, feasting on giant wheels of cheese, when its owner comes home. Polyphemus, a one-eyed giant. He seals the entrance with a boulder no army could move and begins to eat the crew one by one. So Odysseus uses the only weapon that has never failed him, his mind. He offers the giant strong, dark wine, bowl after bowl, until Polyphemus is blind drunk. And when the monster slurs, "What is your name?" Odysseus smiles and answers, "My name is Nobody." While the giant sleeps, they sharpen a massive wooden stake and heat its tip white-hot in the fire. Then, with all their strength, they drive it into his single, staring eye. The blinded giant bellows for his monster kin. "Who is hurting you?" they shout from outside. And he screams back, "Nobody! Nobody is hurting me!" So they leave him to it. And Odysseus and his survivors slip out the next morning, clinging to the bellies of the giant's own sheep. Next, they reach the floating island of Aeolus, god of the winds. Taking pity on the weary king, Aeolus binds every dangerous storm wind into a single leather bag and leaves out only one gentle west wind to blow them straight home to Ithaca. For 9 days, the west wind carries them true. They come so close to home, they can actually see the campfires burning on the hills of Ithaca. After 10 years, home is right there. But as an exhausted Odysseus finally sleeps, his greedy crew eye that mysterious bag. They're certain it's stuffed with gold he's hiding from them. They tear it open. And every storm on earth explodes out at once, a hurricane that blasts them all the way back into the unknown. Their bad luck only deepens on the island of Circe, a beautiful and powerful sorceress. She welcomes the starving men to a lavish feast. Even the lions and wolves on her island are strangely tame. But her wine is laced with dark magic. In a single flash of her wand, she turns the entire crew into pigs. Grunting, squealing, herded into a filthy pen, still just clever enough to know exactly what they become. This time, Odysseus has help. The messenger god Hermes appears on the path and presses a rare magical herb into his hand. Molly, immunity to her sorcery. He drinks her poisoned wine and feels nothing. Then he draws his sword on the stunned sorceress and forces her to change his men back. They rest on her island a full year. But before they can leave, Circe reveals the unthinkable price of ever reaching home. He must first sail into the land of the dead. The world drains of color. In the gray realm of the dead, Odysseus is swarmed by the ghosts of everyone he has lost. Among them, his own mother. A woman who died of a broken heart, waiting for a son who never came home. He reaches for her, and his arms close on empty air. Then he finds the one he came for, the blind prophet Tiresias. And the prophet gives him a grim roadmap for survival. Beware the Sirens, thread the deadly straits, and above all else, whatever you do, do not touch the cattle of the sun god. Back in the world of the living, the Sirens come first. Creatures whose song is so beautiful, it lures sailors to hurl themselves onto the rocks. Odysseus plugs his crew's ears with wax, but he has himself lashed to the mast, so he alone can hear the deadliest song in the world and live to remember it. Then, the deadliest choke point of all. On one side, Charybdis, a monstrous whirlpool that swallows entire ships in a single gulp. On the other, Scylla, a six-headed serpent horror lurking in the cliff. Odysseus makes the hardest choice of his life. He steers towards Scylla and sacrifices 6 men to save all the rest. And then comes the crew's ultimate doom. They land on the island of Helios, the sun god. Starving and defying their king's direct orders, the men slaughter the god's sacred golden cattle, the one thing they were told never to do. Zeus answers their arrogance the only way a king of gods can. A single thunderbolt shatters the ship to splinters. Every last man drowns. Only one survives. Odysseus, alone. Half drowned, he washes ashore on the island of the beautiful nymph Calypso. And there, this hero of 1,000 battles is held captive as her lover for 7 long, wasted years. Finally, the gods intervene. The goddess Athena pleads his case before Zeus himself, and Odysseus is set free. He builds a raft, survives one last furious storm from Poseidon, and washes up among a kind people who give him a swift ship and set him at long last upon the shores of Ithaca. But Ithaca is not the home he left. For years, more than 100 arrogant suitors have overrun his palace, devouring his wealth, disrespecting his son Telemachus, and demanding that his faithful wife, Penelope, finally give up and marry one of them. To walk into that nest of vipers unseen, Odysseus takes Athena's magic and is transformed into a ragged, stooped old beggar. He enters his own home, and the suitors laugh and throw scraps of food at him, never dreaming who they're mocking. Then Penelope sets the challenge that will decide everything. She will marry the man who can string Odysseus's own great bow and fire a single arrow clean through the heads of 12 lined-up axes. One after another, every strong young suitor strains and grunts and fails. Not one can even bend it. And the old beggar shuffles forward and asks for a turn. The suitors howl with laughter. And then, effortlessly in one smooth motion, he strings the impossible bow and sends an arrow flying straight through all 12 axe heads. The hall goes silent. The magic melts away. The king of Ithaca is home. The doors slam shut, and with Telemachus at his side, Odysseus takes his revenge on every man who defiled his home. Only then does Penelope test him one final time, asking a servant to move their marriage bed. Odysseus bristles. That bed cannot be moved. He carved it himself from a living olive tree, still rooted in the earth. Only the real Odysseus could know that. After 20 years of war, monsters, and the wrath of the gods, the man of twists and turns is finally home.